I see the play now. I see the play now. And again, I'm gonna open up the chat for you guys, or open up the live stream a little bit later for you guys to be able to ask me any question you want to. If you want to cam up, you can. If you don't, then let me know. Um, I see the play now. So I've been paying attention to this whole Hawaii, Maui. Is it Lana? I don't know how to pronounce it. Uh, Listen, I'm sorry. I don't pronounce it that well. I've been paying attention to everything that's going on over there because the devil is in the details, right? And one thing that I've learned, whether it's a stock market crash, real estate crisis, wildfire, Kensington Avenue, Mocha Fest, no matter what is happening in society, it's always a play to be made. And so, what I see happening is there's a slow response time. People are suffering. Um, they don't even look at Hawaii as a part of it. I'm gonna tell you, a lot of these states, a lot of these cities. If I'm a legislator, if I'm the president of the United States, if I'm a Congress member, if I'm a House of Representative, if I'm any of these people, right? I'm looking at my cities and I'm saying, hey, we got to fix that. Or, hey, we got to solve for that. Or, hey, what's going on in Hawaii? We got to respond to that. There's no way that I'm sitting on the beach just tanning, having a good time, trying to sabotage my opponent. I'm not doing any of that. But there's a narrative that's being painted over in Hawaii. Let's talk about it. Make sure you hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's get into it, y'all.
On top of trying to find shelter and food, some Maui residents have run into another problem: looters.
Some people on
Somebody said, am I taking questions on anything? You can ask me whatever it is that you want. That's up to y'all. I'm gonna drop the link in the chat afterwards.
Lahaina say many have been robbed left and right for supplies like food and clothing, and they blame it on a lack of resources coming into Lahaina. KITV4 Shanila Kabir spoke to those affected by this crime, and she joins us live. Shanila?
Paul, Diane, this is a desperate time for everyone affected. People are desperate to find loved ones and desperate for necessities. An Oregon resident called KITV4 today and said her family member was robbed at gunpoint when he flew in trying to donate supplies. And I spoke to a man whose business wasn't burned down, but is now facing this problem. Coconut Caboose is one of the very few buildings that has survived the fires on Front Street in Lahaina. It's a restaurant and food truck business. Owner Jeremy Agano says he lost his home and barely made it out alive, but he is thankful at least his business remains standing. Agano says it's, quote, utter chaos for everyone right now, trying to find water, food, shelter, and to make matters worse, Agano says looters have attacked his business. Coconut Caboose now has an active GoFundMe. Barrett Procell says he lost everything to the fire. He and his wife are now homeless and wearing donated clothes. Procell wants people to know looters right now are not the enemies. They're in survival mode.
No. Listen, under no circumstance, I don't care what happens. I don't care what's going on. Under no circumstance do you sacrifice your moral compass for and use that as an excuse in order to do the wrong thing. Under no circumstance. I don't care what's going on. I don't care what's happening. Under no circumstance do we validate bad behavior. Do we validate robbing somebody else? Do we show compassion for bad behavior? You have to nip that shit in the bud, because what I found is that A, either when you under duress, or B, when you make a lot of money. On both ends of the spectrum, you start to find out who people really are. If you don't have anything, you start to find out who people really are. If you get everything, then you get to find out who people really are. But when you're in the middle, that's when everybody is pretending like they all cool with you. When you see everything is devastated, you start to see the nature of who people are. When you start to get a whole bunch of something, then you get to see the nature of who people really are. When you are in the middle, when everybody is just floating, as long as they got a middle class that's being pretended like it's a real thing, everybody is going to pretend like they cool with each other. But under no circumstance do we validate bad behavior: stealing, robbing, killing, raping, looting, anything that takes away from somebody else's humanity. We do not validate it. Listen, I don't even agree with certain people's lifestyle. I absolutely positively disagree with the alphabet community, but under no circumstance do I ever believe in taking away their humanity. I don't believe in fucking up somebody else's bag. I don't believe in taking away their humanity and their rights. And I certainly don't believe in censoring people, because I believe that everybody should be able to contribute into the conversation so you can, as an individual, determine what you don't and what you do want to hear, and what it is that you can take from it and what you don't take from it. Right? Some of the people that I've disliked the most has been phenomenal employees that's worked for me. Not personally for me, but in corporate America. No way in the world that I'm ever going to deny them or say that they are not great employees or not give them a great review, because I don't necessarily care for what it is that they do in their private time and their lifestyle. Has nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me whatsoever. And so I don't validate this shit. And neither should you. Y'all need to stop excusing bad behavior, because it's a gateway and it's a Pandora's box that's open to then getting them to allow them to do some shit that's really egregious.
He asks officials to focus on reopening the roads to bring in supplies.
If your children are starving, the government's not showing up for you, the police won't let people with resources in. I think days and days. I think desperate times creates desperate measures. I definitely don't want to take up for the looters in any means. You know, it's a terrible thing to take advantage of this type of a situation, but people are desperate right now.
Procell also said some restaurants are charging $20 cash for a plate of food. And right now, most people don't have cash or access to accounts. Procell says that's also contributing to the number of burglaries.
If you were one of the lucky ones to have a little bit of money in your purse, and you were like most of the world who uses their card for all their purchases, and nothing.
And no warning.
Nothing.
And no warning.
And no warning.
Well, we
can do better, Mal.
We had a jar of peanut butter in 2 cans of cream of mushroom soup, and we ran. That's all we had.
That's all we had for days.
So let me share with you what the real play is, right? I want to show you something else, because things is like a third world country over there, and I've watched countless videos and I've done a lot of research about what the state of what's happening over in Lahaina and Maui and the wildfires and how it started. Allegedly it started, and they showed it on camera, a power line that went down that then sparked the fire that then created this environment where the alarms didn't get turned on and all of this other type of stuff, right? So I've been doing a lot of research, right? But I always try to figure out where it comes back down to the money, because this is the Millionaire Morning Show. Well, let's talk about it.
I think right now we just need the prayers, and we need the money to rebuild our town. This is going to be a long road ahead of us, and we're just trying to fundraise and make sure that the displaced families can go back home one day. There's a lot of real estate speculation happening right now that is really frustrating, and I just want to remind all you real estate investors around the world, like Lahaina is not for sale. Please don't reach out to these families and take advantage of them during the most devastating time of our lives.
That's the play. That's the play. Wholesalers, real estate developers, rich people, people that have resources, cash rich, so on and so forth, they are making a play for real estate on these islands. That is the move. That is the finesse. People are out of it. A lot of people didn't even have homeowners insurance. People don't have any place to go. They desperate. And the quickest way to be able to take advantage of people is when they don't have anything. That's why poor people are so vulnerable. That's why you have check cash in places in the hood where you can charge egregious interest rates, right? Whenever you see there's fire, or when there's smoke, there's fire. And so every single time that you see this happening, listen, I don't care if we talking about a fucking wildfire that's happening over there. I don't care if we talking about a family court and a woman breaking up with her man. I don't care if we talking about people and which jobs that they get and how often that they leave. It almost always, 98, 99% of the time, it comes back down to the money. And she's saying that it's not for sale, and I'm telling you that it is for sale. It is for sale. It is 100% for sale. That entire fucking island is for sale. It is for sale. And all of you have a price. Yep, it's for sale. The island is for sale. If a woman get desperate enough, her legs is for sale, right? She'll settle and she'll sell her body. She'll do whatever it takes in order to survive. Listen, everything is for sale, and that's what y'all don't understand. This is the thing that rich people understand, that people that live in this euphoric mindset that everything can be kumbaya and all of that don't understand. This is the thing that people with resources understand, that people that live in this fantasy island. Here, I give it to you this way. This is the thing that rich people understand that blackity blacks don't understand. When I look at what's happening over in fucking San Francisco, when I see what's happening in Philadelphia, let me tell you the play that happened in Detroit, right? And then we're going to go back to the video. This is what happened in Detroit. Detroit, for all intents and purposes, what people don't understand is becoming a fucking oasis. That's why I never left. That was the fucking play. That's how I increased my net worth in a lot of instances so quickly, because they were so devastated by what happened in the auto industry. And it's happening all across America. If you go to downtown Detroit, go to Midtown where my office is, go to Corktown, go to Mexican Town, any of the places that is now spreading out. If you go to the Riverwalk, it's literally been rated as the best Riverwalk in the United States of America. You know when it started to come into fruition? You know who actually started that? You know who started the play to actually rebuild the Riverwalk? Kwame Kilpatrick. He gets no credit for it though. And it started way back when he was in office, in which they then trumped up the charges and then made sure that he was convicted over some box. Now, that doesn't mean that he was right, but I'm just telling you what the facts are. And so what happened was the play in both Cleveland and Detroit, and if you go to either city, especially Detroit, is starting to become a fucking oasis. They're building one of the biggest buildings in Detroit, in the Hudson's building right now. Prime real estate. Dan Gilbert came in there and increased his net worth. He was already a billionaire. Owner of the Cavaliers, Rocket Mortgage, so on and so forth. He was already a billionaire. He came in and he bought up every fucking thing. Now, to Dan Gilbert's credit, he was not a slumlord. He just came in and he started building things, and he moved all his employees down there anyway. But I'll give you an example. Little Caesars Arena, owned by the Ilitch family, Ilitch companies. They own Little Caesars Pizza. They own the Detroit Tigers, Detroit Red Wings. They've been buying up property in the city for decades. The Maroons, for example. Matty Maroon was the father that owned the Ambassador Bridge, which is largely one of the biggest pathway for you to be able to operate as far as between Canada and the United States. They've been owning and buying property for literally decades. Eventually, they sold the Michigan Train Depot, which they never did anything with, for literally decades, over to Ford Motor Company for almost $1 billion. The way that they built Little Caesars Arena was that they was buying up all of the land around Little Caesars Arena, and that they built Little Caesars around. And then eventually they got the tax breaks that allowed for them to really be able to make all of the investments, and then created an environment where the Detroit Pistons moved from Auburn Hills back into the city. Now you got all four cities. The Detroit Lions moved from the Pontiac Silverdome back into the city. All four teams are situated within a 1 mile radius from each other now. And it's a fucking oasis down there. And it's starting to spread out. There's always a play for the money when you see something that is being distressed, burned down, or an opportunity for then people to come in, swoop in, and then take advantage of it. The problem with you is that you don't have the mindset to look at what the opportunity cost is, and we so focused on the thing that's right in front of us instead of focusing on the long-term play. The long-term play. And a lot of people don't get it. A lot of people don't get it. They really don't get it. So when she says it's not for sale, oh, it's definitely for sale.
You know, we just heard from our reporter and from a couple of women who say that they were upset about what tourists were doing. Now you're telling me that there are real estate investors reaching out to people about their property. What's going on exactly?
Yes, homeowners have been reached out by investors and realtors offering to buy their land. And this is disgusting, and we just want to make sure that people around the world understand our situation and know that Lahaina is not for sale. It is.
Listen, baby, you cute. but you ain't gonna stand in the way of that bag, and it's absolutely for sale.
Important that the multi-generational families that come from Lahaina get to continue to live in our hometown.
Let me ask you about Hawaii officials and the government. I know that the alarm system failed. They didn't go off. The text message system failed because cell service was bad. Are you hopeful that they will intervene and protect Lahaina as a place for locals and tourists, but a place for locals instead of real estate investors looking to rebuild it differently than what it was?
Yes.
Let me tell you something. It's funny that we're having this conversation because in 2019, I did a lot of research on the different islands in Hawaii. Now, why would Anton do any research on the islands in Hawaii? Well, A, I was trying to understand what the real estate market was across the entire United States of America. But B, I was looking to understand exactly where it is that I wanted to stay during the pandemic because I was looking for the warmest place and the most open place possible. I came upon 3 different destinations: San Diego, Miami, and Hawaii. Hawaii was voted the best because the weather. The weather is largely the best during the wintertime. And so I was like, So I looked at Hawaii. It was very, very warm. It was nice, but it was a very, very restrictive place that you couldn't get into, and you had to go through all of these different protocols in order to fly into Hawaii. The flights was longer, the weather was better, and it was just more expensive overall, right? So we wound up settling on Miami because I didn't want to go over to San Diego. California was 100% restrictive. So we wound up going to Miami. We spent like 4 months living in Miami during the 2019 Oh, no, not 2019. I quit my job in 2019, retired, got out of the restaurant business. And in 2020, during the pandemic, when it started, that winter, 2021, we wound up moving down to Miami for like 4 months, fell in love with it, so on and so forth, right? But what I realized was that Hawaii is like this, it was expensive. However, it was like one of the most beautiful, awesome, greatest tourist destination type of places that largely is like an untapped resource because it wasn't super developed. It wasn't something that people really capitalized off of. It was something that people took a lot of pride in as far as from the locals valuing what the culture was still in Hawaii. Seeing this type of shit and now seeing this for sale, if you don't think that real estate developers and people that have money is going to jump on this and taking advantage of it, you are absolutely out of control. They have already, before the fire stopped smoldering, they ain't even rescued and found all of the remains of the people that's missing. They have already started making propositions on this land. Absolutely.
We need to work as a community to ensure that we have a seat at the table on how our town is rebuilt and what that looks like. And it's important that we make sure that the cultural history of Lahaina, the integrity of Lahaina is protected, especially for Native Hawaiian families from Lahaina. We, as a Native Hawaiian community, we've already been displaced so much. You know, the cost of living in Hawaii is so high. Your median house goes for $1 million. So, you know, already dealing with that and having an affordable housing crisis, and now this just really scares me and concerns me that there'll be more Native Hawaiian displacement happening on among our community.
That is.
Yeah, because it's you think it's a culture war. It's a class war, and everybody ain't figured it out yet. And nobody has figured out that this is a class war. It's 100% a class war. It has nothing to do with race, has nothing to do with your local economy. They don't give a fuck about your historical reference. This is 1000% a class war. And now the Maui and Lahaina is fucking for sale, and it's going to be a fire sale, and everybody that can will, and people that could would. All right.
So hard. Can I ask you how your cousin is doing? How Dustin is doing?
He's okay. You know, we're just comforting each other at this time. Everyone's living with me. I have a 3-bedroom home. I have 2 families living with me. But, you know, through it all, we are enjoying each other's time right now and just being there for each other. And that's what matters most.
So the play, if you guys are not seeing this, and you know me, I'm going to come back 3, 4, 5 years from now, uh, when we still on the Millionaire Morning Show, right? We're gonna be doing this in front of a live studio audience, and I'm gonna revisit this moment and I'm gonna say, I told you so. Remember when I was in Tokyo doing my show and I was telling you what was gonna happen, and I'm selling. I'm not Nostradamus. I just understand the nature of people, and so when I pay attention to things and I look at the historical reference of how things has gone, it's easy to be able to predict. It's very easy to be able to predict. It's funny because even in my own city in Detroit, right? White flight happened. Black people tore it up. White people came, moved back then, bought all of the fucking land, running that shit back up, and now black people want to come and be reactive and move back into the city.